Okay, recording this video Monday 20th of January 2014, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so we get the day off. The markets are shut at the moment, so kind of enjoying some time off. This video I want to talk about a potential trade, long trade setting up in copper. Yesterday I recorded a video on the global market macro picture, reviewing all of the currencies and the global markets that I kind of look at. That video I'm going to attach kind of below this one. It's rather long, it's about 30 minutes long, but it does go through everything that I see at the moment, kind of setting up. And I think it is quite interesting that we're going to see a change in trend starting to line up in a whole bunch of markets during the first couple of months of this year. So it's an important video, but it is rather long. What I've done in this one is picked out the best kind of short-term setup that I can see kind of happening at the moment and talk about that specifically. So that is copper. First charts I want to show you here is the commitment of traders charts on copper. Now we got some problems in TradeStation if you're a TradeStation user of commitment of traders data right now. You can see here that this is the net professional position flipped upside down, and these four bars and these last two bars are level. That is a problem with the TradeStation commitment of traders data at the moment. I've done everything I know what to do, reloading data, deleting caches, all that kind of stuff. TradeStation's got a problem here. It's kind of driving me nuts at the moment. Last weekend all this data was good, but you know, looking at the charts this weekend it's all kind of screwed up again. So the only thing that I can say from this is I do believe the numbers are above zero on this indicator, which is supportive of a long trade in copper, but that's as much as I can say. I'd love to show you kind of bullish divergence patterns and actual real data here, but I'm not going to go back to the spreadsheet analysis of commitment of traders data that I used to do years ago, downloading it from the CFTC website, putting it through a spreadsheet, importing it into TradeStation. It is 2014, for heaven's sakes. We shouldn't be having to do that kind of stuff in TradeStation. Just needs to fix this data and get it right. But anyway, so that's commitment of traders. Let's talk about this trade because it was an alert that I put out back in October of 2013 on the 14th of October, and I'll link to that video. That trade was a potential break above $3.33 that did not work out, and I want to talk about why that didn't work out that time and why I think the trade is now setting up for a good trade. So I've marked the original alert at 333 with these red dotted vertical lines on the daily and the weekly chart. Remember, I use the daily and the weekly chart to keep things simple on these videos. The weekly chart is what we're using for trend, so we need to see pullback to end of trends, exhaustion patterns, blue professional down bars in order to signal a potential change in trend on the weekly chart. Then we use the daily chart to kind of zero in on good kind of entries and get confirmation of what the professionals are doing. So let's look at the weekly chart first of all. We've had this huge kind of basing pattern in copper over the last 2 years. This is beginning of 2012, 2013, and now we're 2014. So over 2 years we could not get by this kind of $3, I think it's per pound copper is priced in, down here. We had a big sell-off, we had pullback to end of trend, kind of go off here. We had this massive sell-off with exhaustion selling blue professional bars. Since then we went through this large kind of support to resistance type pattern, a big triangle pattern here, finally ending up with a breakdown through support into a pullback to dirty end of trend. I call this dirty end of trend because the pullback level was violated, and so we don't actually print an end of trend here, but that's exactly what it is. And into this, during last year, we had blue professional down bars, we had flush patterns, and we had amateur down bars kind of going on here. When I put out the original alert on this trade, we were midway through this cycle, pullback to dirty end of trend. Probably should have been waiting for this to actually play itself out, because now we have a little bit more confirmation that that trending move, large trending move, has actually finished. So on the weekly chart here we've gone through that, and we've had a little bounce up through those previous highs here, come into another resistance level on the weekly chart. Around Christmas time these were amateur up bars and Rambo patterns, but we're settling back down. So we've done everything on the macro picture to put in exhaustion patterns, flush patterns, blue professional down bars, pullback to end of trend. So on a weekly chart here we're potentially lining up for a trend break above this resistance on the weekly chart, take us into a trend move on copper. Now daily chart, Here's the same kind of setup that we had back in October 2013, and why this didn't work out. We had this big kind of move down with pullback to end of trends and exhaustion patterns, blue professional bars kind of happening here. When I was talking about this last time, this was what was interesting me. We had a breakaway move here with exhaustion patterns. That's kind of like a short covering rally. So all of the sellers that have kind of got short positions here, all of a sudden it breaks above that congestion zone. They're forced out of their positions, their trailing stops are hit, whatever it might be. They kind of get out there. But we lose some steam after a short covering rally. That's not necessarily the start of this. It's just showing that they've all had to exit their trades. We come back into that breakout zone where we broke out with the lows of those blue professional bars, and we came back with this little sequence here with blue professional down bars into that kind of zone where the professionals were buying that breakout, and seemingly it was starting to hold. We start to break above that, and I said a break above $3.33, which was kind of the high of this channel, would signal that this is kind of a valid break and we're going to go to break into an uptrend here. We had a day, I think we had maybe 2 days where we closed marginally above, just a fraction above $3.33. Then the blue professional bars kind of came in at the highs and they sold it down. We had a test back up onto that blue professional bar, and that blue professional bar again got sold down. So on that little rise, the professionals were getting out because we had the lows of that blue professional bar kind of taken out within a couple of days. So that breakout did not work out at that point in time. We've subsequently put in another support level on the weekly chart, and look what's happened here in the meantime during November, December last year. Big blue professional down bar with exhaustion patterns here. The lows of that get fractionally broken but essentially hold, and then we have a big blue professional up bar. This is a U-turn where the professionals are picking it up on the way down and then they're anxious to buy it up on the way up. So we get a bullish divergence kind of come in, a little amateur bar right down there at the lows. We kind of broken to the upside. So this is showing that again back into this $3, $3.15 kind of level is an area where the professionals are seeing it as a good kind of long-term play. Christmas time, we get a huge kind of volatile bar kind of going on here. What I said, when this kind of bars come out, particularly around days like, yes, it's Christmas Eve, I think, where they're just kind of messing around to find where those highs and low kind of stops are on a market. You have to wait and see what happens after then. We didn't break through the highs, we came back to test the lows back down here, and then the last couple of days, last 2 weeks kind of activity, what we've had is we had a blue professional down bar into the bottom of that kind of big ranging bar. That has held, so the lows of that did not get broken. We broke into the upside. We got another little blue professional bar in here, and that seemingly we've congested a little bit, but the lows of that one are holding. So again, another kind of potential little U pattern, picking it up on the way down here, chasing it on the way up. I'd like to see this kind of broken solidly and start to get to new highs kind of quickly. If this starts just rambling around and kind of going nowhere for days and days, then forget it. This thing needs to show that the professionals were anxious to get onto it. We break the highs of this bar and start to kind of break to the upside. So anything above kind of $3.37, closing above that would be a signal that this is kind of going higher. That breakout above resistance at this point here, we're holding above resistance right now. If we break above that 337 kind of mark, close above it, and then kind of keep going, bang, that's good into an uptrend on that daily chart. And then on the weekly chart, let's see what the resistance level is here. 42.5 is a resistance level. So if we get to 37 and close above it, and then the next kind of area to look for a break is above the 40s here, above that resistance on the weekly chart, into an uptrend on this chart as well, and that would work out to a nice kind of strong trend. So back in October, I was too early on this trade. We didn't really get decent confirmation of break above 333. It kind of faded away, but we've come back into it, done a little bit more kind of confirmation that the lows in here, that the professionals are pretty keen on this, back down in the low threes. So a break above this into the 335 to 340 kind of region would show that we're away into an uptrend on copper. So there we go. That's an alert on copper. So look for that over the next week and a half to see if we get kind of confirmation of that. That could be quite interesting. Bigger picture, what it means is there's a kind of move into commodities, and I think crude is also kind of looking interesting again for another kind of break to the upside. Need a little bit more confirmation and testing down a little bit in order to kind of get that going. But I hear stories about a lot of good commentators talking about deflation and kind of commodity prices going down. I think we could be in for a little bit of a kick up in commodities. So copper's looking interesting, crude's kind of looking interesting. So kind of going against the flow of people that I kind of listen to. So we'll just see. Wait for the price kind of confirmation these charts to kind of work out. But that could be interesting for the first half maybe of 2014. So there we go, and if you're interested in kind of the bigger picture and looking at all of the markets and all of the currencies, check out the video I've put below this post.